Welcome to episode 119 of Drew's Sports Crew. Here on this Sunday evening, myself, Drew Skyberg, bringing you the news here in the sports world. Right, feels like I say this every week, but we have a lot of talk. We have a lot to talk about here on this Sunday night. A lot of great stuff happened this past week. Whether you're looking in the EWC or you're looking with the Milwaukee Brewers at what they did this past week. A weekend sweep of those Pittsburgh Pirates. Right, we ended the week on a high note for Brewers baseball. We'll talk about that in the episode, but yeah, we'll be talking through the EWC. We'll start, of course, with what happened in girls soccer on Saturday, June 17th. Congratulations to the Kiel Raiders on a state championship, their first state championship in girls soccer. So congrats to them. We'll talk more about that game in Milwaukee, a duel versus Cedar Grove, Belgium. Incredible stuff there. And then also we got to go through those EWC teams. I've been talking about the last few weeks. Finally have them all out so we can talk about them. I'll read through that list of athletes for each sport respectively and congratulate all of those athletes on their hard work here this spring. But then, yeah, we're going to wrap it up here with the Milwaukee Brewers talking through how week 12 went. Again, we look at on how we're looking at the weeks here. We'll also talk a little bit about week 13 coming up. What games do we have? What do I have them going? I already made the record prediction. And again, that'll be out tomorrow at Drew Sports Crew, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Also, Drew Sports Crew on YouTube or Facebook. So that's all the announcements I have here. Let's get going to the news. So to start, right, I said we're going to start in girls soccer. I feel like that's an appropriate place to start. Yes, Kiel. So they win on Friday 5-0. They continue that dominant stretch I was talking about, how they were outscoring their opponents in the playoffs, let alone it was over 30 goals was a differential. We get now to the state championship. We're there. And Kiel squared off against Cedar Grove, Belgium. I believe the Cedar Grove, Belgium actually was seeded the 1 seed. So that was interesting, considering how dominant Kiel has been as a squad this year. But what we saw in this one, we saw Kiel be in a spot where they really haven't been this year, down 2-1 in the first half. And then what happened was, period 2 comes along and they're able to really string through or really come together. And I believe the game went into overtime. So, right, I talked about wisports.net. This is where you can find all the great information on high school sports. It shows that it was 5-3 there in that one in period 2, but I believe it was actually overtime on that. So, but the point being said here is Kiel gets the job done. They come back. They come from behind and win it 6-5 after being down 2-1 in the end of the first period. And again, we've talked about Taylor Schott all season. 4 goals in the biggest game of the year, then also an assist on top of that. And again, Schott's been dominant all year, and credit to Kiel and of course to her and then the whole Kiel squad as well. 2 goals also for Tavi Sager on that, and that was a total of 6 goals there. And for Kiel in this one, no stats for Cedar Grove. That's where it's sometimes tough to report on what we're seeing on the soccer side is spring sports in general. I've talked about this. Sometimes we just don't have all the stats, even in basketball to an extent. But again, credit Kiel getting the job done here. And I've talked about this last few weeks. I mean, the dominance of this season for the Kiel Raiders is something that'll be remembered for a long time. So again, congratulations to Kiel, right? All the athletes, the fans, right? The parents, right? This is a great win here. A great win for Kiel High School also and the community of Kiel. So great stuff there in Division 4 on that state championship. But going back to EWC for girls soccer, we got all conference teams to talk about. So having those up as well, going through the teams and yeah, you guessed it, Conference Player of the Year is Taylor Schott of Kiel. And then also so I'll go through them as I always do. And so for the forwards, right, we mentioned Schott getting the nod there. And again, she's a senior here, so wrapping up her historic career. Ava Podokar of Sheboygan Falls, unanimous selection as a junior. Lillian Raynal of Sheboygan Falls, a sophomore, rounding out the forwards. The midfielders, Abby Moore of Kiel, Mariana Valenzuela, Lydia Vandermeer, and Sage August, all receiving recognition for midfielders. Vandermeer and Moore were both unanimous there, both from Kiel. And then we had Alicia Sippel, Addie Schwely, and then Maddie Barton all received nods at defenders. Then Alexis Zinkel of New Holstein gets the nod for goalkeeper as a sophomore. Second team all conference, Grace McDowell, Nadia Langenfield, Eva Sollert, and that rounds out the forwards for the second team. Midfielders then, Andrea Hicks, Dayton Thiel, Ava Cady, Aubrey Arnold. And that was 2 Sheboygan Falls, 1 New Holstein, 1 Kiel, respectively, all seniors. Defenders, Alyssa Voigt, Addie Uselding, and then Angel Grady for the defenders. A lot of names here, a lot of new names, so doing my best here. And then we had for goalkeeper rounding it out, Megan Ertman of Roncalli, a junior. And again, feel free DM at True Sports Group. There's a name. We were able to correct some names going along, which again is important. Want to make sure we're pronouncing names correctly, but can only go based off of what I'm seeing or what I've heard or what I've seen, right? So it's often tough for some of these names, but let's wrap up the honorable mentions here. For forwards, we had 1 forward, Ayla Braun of Valders, a sophomore, gets the nod. Midfielders, Tavi Sager, a freshman again who scored 2 goals in the state championship. And then Lauren Stengel of Roncalli, Paige Sear, Valders, Rihanna Robbins. And then we had Bryn Carroll for the midfielders. Defenders, McKenna Jager, Ava Niels, Marina Simmer, and then Mackenzie Schrader. And then we had Ryan Fitzpatrick of Sheboygan Falls, a senior, for the goalkeeper. So those were the all-conference teams for girls soccer. Congratulations to all the athletes who received recognition. And that will put a close to the girls soccer season for 2023. So thank you all for sticking along, listening on that. So we followed it along here, mostly for the playoffs these last 4 or 5 weeks, but thank you nonetheless. Let's go here. Next up, we're going to go to softball. We'll talk about the softball season wraps up, and right, it's been done for a few weeks now. We'll talk through that, and then we'll wrap up talking about Kiel in baseball, that game and whatnot. But all right, so softball. We have the co-conference champs of Chilton and New Holstein. Alyssa Wolfel of New Holstein received conference player of the year nods. And then we had some unanimous as well. Let's go through them here. Natalie Ziebel of New Holstein and Brianna Ott of Chilton were unanimous first-team selections for pitcher, catcher, Ariel Schneider, and then Kylie Piarki. Yes, I got that last name right, of New Holstein and Chilton there. Schneider from Chilton, Piarki of New Holstein. Both unanimous as well. Alyssa Wolfel, unanimous, right? Conference player of the year for infield, Jordan Meyer, Abigail Judas, and then Gwendolyn Sell. And then 2 from Chilton, 2 from New Holstein, Jenna Carls, Maddie Tash, Emily Roaring wraps up the outfielders. There we had 3 outfielders there. 1 unanimous was Carls. Second team, we'll go there now. Liz Niels and Amaya Brooks were both the pitchers for the second team, both freshmen as well. Brooks from Brilliant, Niels from Kiel. Kennedy Ott from Brilliant, and then Paige Wilkins of Kiel received catcher nods. Infielders, Ellie Jagman, Mackenzie Staudinger, Ella Kuchenbecker, and then Addie Carls all received the infielder nods there. 2 seniors there, 1 sophomore, 1 junior. Outfielders, Haley Coleman, Riley Tim, and then Michaela Dallas receive those outfielder nods there. Honorable mention, Gretchen Kapik, Anna Klein, and Hunter Romold receive the pitcher nods. For catcher, Kiana Lubke, Cassidy Tuchel, and then infield, Alyssa Schneider, Jen O'Connell, Megan Hokemer, Megan Myers, and then Piper N. And for outfielders, wrapping up the list here, Hillary Sanabend, J.C. Sessing, Kennedy Vandehei, and then Macy Monroe. That wraps up here the honorable mention list for the Eastern Wisconsin Conference softball season, and that's going to put a close to the softball season here for of us discussing it. So thank you all to everyone who stuck around for that as well. So appreciate that, and a good season there for the EWC. We'll wrap up here talking the baseball all conference teams. Also, we got to talk about how Kiel did. Right, we saw them play last week, and at State, or it's really it's where the Rattlers play. Neuroscience Group Field, I believe, is still what we're calling it. And again, Kiel, they faced a really tough squad there. It was St. Croix Falls, right, was the team. And when we talk, a dominant squad, right, I mean, St. Croix Falls, 28-3 on the season. Like, it was ridiculous stuff going on. They ended up winning the state championship. So, no fault for Kiel there losing that one. They had a great season. Again, they lose that one 10-0 there. But I mean, it was a great team. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. That St. Croix Falls team, when we throw historic around with of course Kiel's girls soccer as it was, but on the baseball side, they ran into a team that was very good, was them. But Kiel very good as well. Again, finishing the year, I have 24-3 as their final standings is what I'm seeing. So again, congratulations to Kiel on that. Let's go through some all conference baseball teams, or the baseball team here. Your conference champion was the Chilton Tigers. Conference player of the year was Max Miller of Chilton. And again, he's going to be your unanimous first team selection at pitcher. He's joined by Austin Grube and then Nathan Stefani. Chilton Kiel is that. And then Slayett Nolan, a sophomore, is your first team selection at catcher. Max Miller, Tate Hartlub, Austin Grube, Justin Klinkner, Ian Desalier, Nathan Stefani, and Brett Hartlub are your selections there for position players. Miller under unanimous selection as a position player as well, joined by Hartlub, Grube, and Klinkner. Going to second team, we have Brett Hartlub, Mason Schmall, and Justin Klinkner receive second team nods. Two seniors there in Hartlub and Schmall, and then Klinkner, a junior. And then we had Colin Gossi, a catcher from Kiel, get second team nods. Position players, Connor Meyer of New Holstein, Jaden Bastian of Brilliant, Dane Nikolai of Sheboygan Falls, Ryan Piarkey of Chilton, Otis Berge of Valders, Grant Miller of Chilton, and then Xander Pop of Two Rivers. Honorable mentions, we had Ian Desalier, Trent Roaring, Landon Halupny, and Orion Gauger. And those four were the pitchers' honorable mentions. For catchers, we had Briar Foydick, and then position players, Jackson Neese, Caden Kish, Hunter Bolt, Kenyon Davidson, Keaton Wagner, and Jack Schwartz. So that's going to wrap up here the baseball season as well, putting a close. It's June 18th that we're putting a close to the EWC spring sports seasons. Yes, they're long. Yes, weather's not ideal, which makes them even longer, but great seasons for all three sports, representing the EWC well, right? I mean, having state recognition, right? Of course, that track we did, but then also right on the baseball side. And then, of course, softball had some great teams in there, just didn't work out, but girls soccer making it and having a state champion as well. So a great year for the EWC spring sports, but that puts a close, right? Talking here EWC. Again, thank you to WIS Sports for all their help throughout this year. Check out wisports.net for all your EWC high school sports news information you want to find. Right? I also talk about the WIA tournament page, right? They were a big help this playoff. So WIA page itself, another great outlet. Thank you all for your support, right? And finding, right? We need information here to make this show possible. So they are big drivers of that. And then also you, the listener, thank you, right? Whether you're sending information, sending in news, highlights, at your sports crew, at EWC_sports, we appreciate it. So thank you all for that. Let's go to baseball here. All right, we'll transition a little here. You see the jerseys, which, by the way, that Christian Yelich Memorial Day jersey, very nice patriotic jersey, I guess is what they're calling it. But again, it was for Memorial Day, right? Was the theme there for the giveaway on that Sunday. But those are very nice. And look, Christian Yelich has been playing very well, right? I mean, I'm at the point right now, call me crazy, but I'm going to read you some stats. Christian Yelich right now is an all-star. I mean, I said it right now. He is an all-star, and he's playing like one. He leads the team in WAR. His WAR is up to 1.9. This last week, right, I always like to do like a WAR check where we see who has the highest WAR on the team, which I got some funny ones. I mean, they're not necessarily funny, but they're surprising, right? And I want to touch on these before we kind of talk through what happened this past week. So to start, I said Yelich leads the way. How much does he lead the way between 1 and 2? So number 2 is Corbin Burns. So he has a whopping 0.8 WAR more than player number 2. And, that might not seem like a lot, but where we are right now, mid-June, kind of where nobody's really stood out on this team in terms of WAR, that's a whole lot, right? I mean, I think that's remarkable considering Garrett Mitchell's still number 12 on this list with 0.7. That tells you the pace he was on. Another one here, Julio Teheran keeps it going, right? Another great start on Saturday. Friday. Miley goes Saturday, pitches phenomenally. He's number 5 with a 1 WAR. He's ahead of Willie Adames, and Willie Adames is tied with Wade Miley, Devin Williams on that. So just kind of crazy where we're seeing and who's brought value to this team. Like Joel Payamps, right? He's number 11 right now on this team. I mean, being the most probably dominant, important reliever. Maybe not most dominant, of course, but being that guy you can use in high leverage situations has been what Payamps has thrived on. So just the WAR reports that. But let's go back to Yelich here for a sec. So Yelich right now, OPS right now is for full season is at 785, OPS plus of 116. He's been more around over 800, the last 30 games or so. If you're looking at that, well over that. And again, I talk paces. He's quietly on this 20 plus home run, 30 plus steal pace. He's on pace to go 20-30. And he's doing it. So he's going to score over 100 runs. Right? I'm not going to throw fantasy baseball in here, but the value he's bringing there is insane, as well as, to the Milwaukee Brewers right now. I still think the critique has been his throwing arm has gotten worse over the years, which you can tell if you're watching the games, but what this guy's doing around, he does the little things so well, I think is what makes Yelich great. That's why, again, he's leading this team in WAR. And then you just have some other guys around him who are streaky guys, but that's been this Milwaukee Brewers offense. Just look at Joey Wiemer, a guy 2 home runs this weekend. He's up to 10 this year, but he's a guy who, he'll go through stretches, 0-for-18 stretch here, 9 strikeouts. It's like, okay, well, I can't really start this guy. And then it just all goes right with Wiemer, and unorthodox is a way to describe him offensively for sure. But out in the field, he's reaction time, arm catches, the reads. He's got it all defensively. He's going to be a Gold Glove finalist if he plays the full year out there with how he's performed. So credit Joey Wiemer on that. That's also a big part of his WAR here. OPS plus of 91 there. And then, Rowdy Tellez just hasn't gotten going. It's tough, right? OPS plus still above league average by 2%, but 12 home runs, 31 RBIs. He just hasn't gotten it going last week. Looking for that to turn around at week 13 is kind of where I'm at, position player wise. Owen Miller's kept it up. Average now is dipped under 300, but we expected that. He's still playing well, though. He's still a guy you can bat. They're batting him 5 this weekend, which I thought was a little interesting, but like what we saw, Blake Perkins looks a lot better after being called back up, for sure. And right, I want to talk through some situations, what's going on, right? Not Darren Ruff. We know he's on a 60-day IL, unfortunately, but John Singleton, DFAing him, unfortunate, but I'll read you his stats. He was 3 for 29, and 11 strikeouts on 3 walks. Was unfortunately not getting the job done. And bringing a guy, Ramil Tapia, right? They bring him from Boston, former Colorado Rockies player. Gets the job done on Sunday there with the sac fly, right? Credit Tapia on that. but a crazy play by G1 Bay. But right, bringing Tapia, I'm optimistic, and Tapia actually might be a guy. Right, we haven't seen Winker step it up. Winker's been it's been a, the experiment, or whatever you want to call it, has not worked. Right, bringing him in that trade with for Wong. 196 average so far. Did not look good on Saturday. Hat trick on Saturday, I believe. Sunday looks a lot different though. Has his best game of the season, arguably, I'd say. But Winker, it's been a tough ride. Certainly, he rehabbed last week. He's back now, and it's like, okay, we need Winker to step it up. If this team wants to be where they want to be, I mean, Winker's a guy who needs to step up along with Tellez. Those are guys who we're looking at. Brian Anderson is doing not the hot starts that he had, but he's playing replacement level baseball, like the OPS around 100. And honestly, I feel that's what he's brought in to do. He's brought in to play league average baseball offensively, and he's going to bring you that utility though. That's where his value comes defensively. So Anderson's doing the job that he needs to do. And then there was just a few things I want to talk about. I'm not going to go through the whole team offensively. Might seem like I'm doing that. I just wanted to, we saw a lot of narratives. We saw a lot of, new storylines take place this past week that I found were interesting, that need to be discussed. Another one was we know Victor Caratini, the stat with him catching for Corbin Burns versus William Contreras is astonishing. I mean, the ERA difference is between 3 to 4 runs between them per 9 innings, which is kind of remarkable if you look at it. And we know Contreras calls a great game behind the plate, right? And he's gonna be an all-star. But Caratini, he brings this veteran savviness that you want as a catcher, which seems crazy considering we remember when he was with Chicago, just a few years back. But really, I mean, if you look at it now, he's a seasoned vet. He's an established guy in the big leagues. So definitely love what we see from Caratini. I think he's gonna be a guy right when Burns is starting. He starts tomorrow. Guarantee it. Caratini's gonna be behind home plate. So that's also something I'm baking in the record prediction challenge here for week 13. So wanted to keep that one in mind. But otherwise, let's kind of go through the schedule here. Wanted to focus mainly on the hitters, talking about what's going on. I did mention how in week 12, I was a little bit more optimistic with that 2-game set against the Twins. I had them winning the game that Devin Williams, unfortunately, gave up that walk-off home run, and that he blew that save there. Unfortunate, right? It's baseball. That happens. Williams still dominant, not worried whatsoever. And then they lose on Wednesday. They get swept in that 2-game set. Was not expecting that. And then I had them losing Friday. They win Friday 5-4, and then they win Saturday and Sunday as I predicted. So had 2 games wrong out of 5. So, I'm not mad, but just got to get sharper here on these predictions, right? I know things happen. I know it's baseball, but want to do my best to give, accurate predictions on what I think's happening throughout the week as I'm following what's going on. So here we go. For week 13, we have 3 games against the Arizona Diamondbacks at home. I will be in attendance Tuesday the 20th. And then we have an off day Thursday the 22nd, another off day. Thank you, Major League Baseball. And then we have a 3-game set. We have a big road trip, one of the longest of the year coming up. And we start it Friday against the Guardians in Cleveland. And going through times now for the week. So we have a 7:10 Monday, 7:10 Tuesday, and then we have 1:10 on Wednesday. No promos really going on. I mean, season seat holder appreciation day on Tuesday. But otherwise, there's not too much going on here. Off day Thursday. Friday, 6:10 in Cleveland. That's Central Time. 3:10 on Saturday. And then 12:40 on Sunday. So there's your schedule there. Do I have... Again, I'm looking... It looks like it's all Bally Sports this week, so no issues on that. Yeah, all Bally Sports. We have it. It'll all be good. On that, the prediction this week is a 4-2. Yes, it's 4-2. I'm liking what I'm seeing here. In terms of Monday, I got the win, right? And again, I was going through going through like the matchups. It just ends up getting shaky on Friday, Saturday with the back end of the rotation and kind of how Guardians are matching up. They're going to miss McKenzie as he went on the IL. Tristan McKenzie, a guy who I feel would do very well against the Brewers. I'm worried right now. Just kind of my concern is how it shakes out with Logan Allen, a lefty of the Guardians, who gets some decent swing and miss numbers. And the Brewers have not touched well against lefties. I think Logan Allen's going to have I think, it's going to be, it might be a tough day on Logan Allen Day. Looking, and that's kind of where I mapped out my losses for that, is kind of where I think he's lining up. And also, it's not like Burns is going to be pitching that day. Burns might be in line for 2 starts on Sunday, though. So that's what I was looking, like Friday, Saturday. It's kind of where I'm looking at with the back end of the rotation starting then, and then also with matchup that's unfavorable is kind of how that loss stemmed through. How, again, kind of the intuition behind how I base these predictions off of is looking at matchups, looking at the Brewers roster, how they match up against the team they're against. Right? There's a lot that has to go into it because I can't, which I've explained to individuals who ask. It's, right? It might look crazy if I'm just putting a win loss on a specific game throughout a week because, like, what am I doing? Flipping a coin or something? No, I'm looking through it, looking through matchups. Which the beauty of apps like the MLB app or wherever the team, like beauty of post game, the beauty of media is, right? They'll ask Craig Counsell, they'll ask who's in line to start the rest of the week here, right? I can hear that, and that kind of helps me base off of a prediction I want to make. So, because I can then look what the Guardians are looking at, or I can look again what the Diamondbacks, what we're looking at. So, helps the predictions. So, right there's a lot of things that go into it, right? Location matchup, for example, playing Colorado at home versus the road, 2 different teams. So, not to that extent, but it certainly goes into effect. How teams play home versus road splits. So, I call it a pie, and there's a lot of pieces baked into this pie. Is all I'll say, and that's gonna wrap up my prediction here. Get 4-2 on that. But otherwise, that's all I got here for episode 119 of Drew's Sports Crew. Check out this Wednesday, Journey to Million. Yes, we will be live around 4:30 p.m. And in case you missed it, live show is coming back here at Pet Skull Brewing Thursday, August 10th. I know it's a long way out. Just want to make a quick announcement confirming with people it's happening. Looking more, upcoming weeks. I'll start talking more about it, right? It's a few weeks away, right? When I say a few, it's more than a few weeks away. So just keeping that in mind. But again, Thursday, August 10th, Pet Skull Brewing, Drew's Sports Crew, show Journey to Million. Be a lot of fun, and hope to see you there. So that's going to wrap it up here for myself, Drew Skyberg, here on this Sunday night. Thank you all for listening to another episode of Drew Sports Crew, the perfect podcast for you.